Jaylen Brown could be on the move or not. The Blazers work out the Thompson twins, not the 1980s rock band, and the Nets are supposedly, genuinely interested in Damian Lillard, whatever that means. Welcome to the Blazer Focus Podcast. I am Fentress. I cover the Blazers for the Oregonian and OregonLive.com, and I'm joined by Craig Birnbah. Craig, it's been a minute. We didn't talk last week. I just didn't really have much to say to you. Just no offense, but I was just like, I want to talk to Craig. I don't have much to say. Nothing's happening. But there's been a couple of workouts since then that were kind of interesting. And now that the Celtics are out, there's all this Jaylen Brown talk. It was like immediate. But how you been, and how you been enjoying the playoffs?
Well, now that Boston's out, I'm enjoying it. I got a little scared. I'm a New Yorker. Can't root for Boston teams.
Just
Don't like them. Might like people, but I rooted for Ime Udoka as a Portland person, but glad about that. I do like Eric Spoelstra. I'm not a huge Miami Heat fan as a Knicks fan. It's not like that's a joyful relationship, but if you have to weigh the two, plus it was cool. Game 7 was a complete dud, but getting there was fun, and I think it added to all the drama, because after Game 3, Boston was firing their coach for sure, and they were blowing it up. They win 3 straight, and now it's like, well, do you blow it up? And I think that my thoughts every time someone wonders if the Blazers should trade the 3rd pick and Simons for Jaylen Brown, and they wonder about it, and they want to keep Damian Lillard, I'm shocked, because I'm like, what is your better deal? Of course, if you're in the camp that says, let's keep Damian Lillard, build around him, and you're not willing to trade the 3 and Simons for Jaylen Brown, I don't know what you want. Like, now, I don't see what you're going to get, right?
No, I agree. I mean, that
are you with me on that thought?
That's
right.
That's a no-brainer. The only question is if they want Ant, Sharpe, and number 3. That's when you have to, take pause. Some people say they would do that. I don't think I would, but I would be tempted. No. But I got to get another guy back. Like, you got to give me something else back in that deal. But I would really hope to not be able to do that. At the same time, if I'm Boston, why am I trading Jaylen Brown for number 3 and Anfernee? But we're gonna get to all that in detail. But the one thing I will say is that it's hilarious on Twitter.
I jumped ahead.
No, it's fine. But it's hilarious on Twitter watching people throw out ridiculous trade offers for both sides. Everyone does it, and then argue about whether or not that lineup would work. But it's clearly better than anything the Blazers could ever hope for. Like, there's one out there now that ends up with the Blazers trading Anfernee, number 3, number 23, Nurkic, Watford, and a future number 1, and ending up with both Siakam and Jaylen Brown. So there's right. So you're not giving up Sharpe. So you're starting Dame, Sharpe, Brown, Siakam, and Grant. And then people come back like, that won't work because Grant can't play the 3 and Siakam can't play the 5. And I'm like, gosh, what are you talking about? You just throw those 5 out there and say, go play basketball. Positions don't matter. That's a sick team. Yeah, but then someone said, well, what are you going to do? It's going to matter when you play against Jokic. Well, no one's stopping Jokic anyway. So my point being is that no matter what you throw out there, everyone wants to find the weakness in the deal or the weakness in the lineup, as if there's some perfect, basically they have to go out there right now and get Jaylen Brown, Jokic at center, right, and keep Sharpe, and then play Grant the 4. Now you're fine. Now, okay, I would do that. So it's the chatter out there is just hilarious and amusing. But anyway, let's segue right into our first topic. So I've been waiting to write. I just wrote about the Jaylen Brown, Celtics, and Blazers thing today. I've been waiting to write about that for them to get eliminated. They were eliminated in a pitiful Game 7 loss to Miami, in which they were running like a 6th grade offense. It was just a joke in the first half, selling for threes. It was just ridiculous. Jaylen Brown was a mess. 8 turnovers. Did not look like a marquee player at all. But that happens to everyone. So I don't hold him accountable for that. Some people are like, I don't know if I want him now. Then you're a dumbass. But the first question is, what, like, immediately after the game ended, there were articles out there from people who cover the NBA and, of course, fan stuff saying Jaylen Brown to Portland, Jaylen Brown somewhere, But first things first, before we even talk about what a deal would look like, do you think he's even going to be available? Like, what are we talking about here? I sort of feel like you have a modern day Jordan Pippen, and they haven't won a title yet. They've been to the finals. They've been to the East Finals a few times. They haven't won yet. That doesn't mean they're not going to win one. If they could literally be in their – they haven't even to their prime yet. So they're 25 and 26. If you can play at your elite level till 35, you've got 9 years together with these two in their prime, and you're going to break it up? Like, do you think Boston is even entertaining this? Now, if Jaylen Brown asks out, that's different. But do you think Boston is entertaining this?
Well, if he asks out, he's out.
Right,
pretty much.
That's different.
You know what I mean? Like, because he won't sign the deal, even though he's crazy to turn down that money. No, I don't think. Look, I don't think they're trading him for prospects. I think if they really don't think it's going to work, I think there's a better chance it's Jaylen Brown for Damian Lillard kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like looking to replace one star with another star. That we've seen happen. I mean, James Harden's been traded a gazillion times for other players. You know what I mean? I don't see why you'd want to start over with with another young player that you hope is as good as Jaylen Brown.
But
you'd have to have a guarantee to make that deal.
But before you even consider what you trade him for, you have to even have the inclination to want to trade him. I just think it's ridiculous. Yeah. So there's some odds out right now that say Boston that he's minus 500 to remain in Boston. So 1 to 5 odds he's going to be in Boston. 7 to 1 he ends up in Dallas, and 6 to 1 he ends up in Portland. So clearly the odds makers are saying the odds are he's going to be in Boston.
He's staying.
I just find it incredible that's even being discussed, that you split these guys up. Now, Bill Orr and I talked about it last week, and Bill's great. Like, I'm like, you do this and you do that. And Bill's like, yeah, but what about the money, right? He likes talking about the money. But I'm even of the mind that, okay, you give him a Supermax. He's making, going to make an average of 50 or whatever it is a year. And you got Tatum coming up behind him, who's probably going to get more. How do you manage that? Well, that's just life in the NBA. The cap's going to go up. At the end of the day, you have one elite star and one semi-elite. They're both all-stars regardless. You make it work, because if you let Brown go, you're going to be hunting for another Brown. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm of the mind that he isn't going anywhere unless he walks in and says, I want out. And the only reason he would do that, now he was grumbling a little bit about some things in Boston, is if he does the Stephon Marbury thing with Garnett, where I want to be the guy. I need to be the guy. I need to go somewhere and be the guy. If he does that and he's a child, I don't know if I want him, but I don't see him doing that because he's a star. He's averaging 26. It's not like he's a number 2 averaging 18. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't see it happening.
So here it really comes down to the bottom line with me. If Ime Udoka doesn't get fired, they might win a championship. They were 1 game away with a coach who was way on the back of the bench with no head coaching experience, who was clearly overmatched by possibly the best coach in the NBA. They went to Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, you were one step. Like, if Ime Udoka's coaching this team, they probably are in the NBA Finals right now and have a good chance for a title. Right. So, to me, if you're the Celtics, like, why would you break it up? You're breaking it up because it was a disaster. Oh, wait, it was 3-0, and then it was 3-3. I mean, they were 1 game away from going back to the NBA Finals with these two guys that are young and, he still has a chance to get better. I mean, we know he can't go one direction. That's not great. We know they should, he could get better at that. He can't dribble. He could get better at that, right? These are things that players can still improve in their mid-20s. But bottom line, Ime Udoka, it caused this problem because he got fired, and they were incomplete. They have a coach that they didn't necessarily pick, that wasn't ready to be an NBA coach, maybe. So to me, like, you run it back, you play this Game 7, and maybe Tatum doesn't sprain his ankle on the first play, and you're in the NBA Finals.
Right.
Like, of course you don't blow it up unless what I was saying, all my scenarios are if Brown doesn't want to be here.
Right.
No, you don't blow it up. You pay the money. You have a guarantee. You're a Boston Celtics. You're not. If the Boston Celtics are worried about Supermax contracts, then the league needs to go back to negotiations, because you've just designed a salary system in which the Boston Celtics are unwilling to pay top, talent. So there's, Bill's right about money, but if the Boston Celtics aren't willing to give supermax contracts out to all-star players, then the league then I can promise you New Orleans isn't going to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oklahoma City's not going to do it. Like we got bigger problems.
Well, so and to that end, and getting to our next topic, and I wrote about this today. If the argument for them moving him is that you don't want to pay Brown when you're going to have to pay Tatum, then why on earth would you acquire Lillard in a trade who's already locked in at 4 years, 200 and something million, and is 7 years older than Brown? So in that fourth year of that deal, you're paying him 62, and by then Tatum's going to be close to his extension, so he's going to be making 50 something. So it's the same problem, but you're 7 years younger. So the question here is if you're Boston and you're dealing with Portland, what would you prefer? Ant, the number 3 pick, and something else, but not Sharpe, because I don't think the Blazers would do that? Or would you want Dame if you're Boston?
So if I'm Boston and my scenario is Brown's walking,
right?
I can't make it work. He doesn't want to play here. I'd rather have Dame,
right?
Because I want to try to win a title, now.
Right.
I don't want to regroup and have young people play with Tatum, who's ready now. I mean, Tatum at times is a top 3 player in the league. When he's at the top of his game, there's nobody in the world better than him. So he's ready now. Why am I going to get a guy that I got to hope or wait for 2 years or 3 years? No, but I would also think that they might. I don't think that's a thing for Boston. I think that it's Brown staying, and if he's not. Right.
If he's not, though, we're talking right now. If he's not. Right. Well, okay. So if I'm Boston, I'm sitting out and Brown wants out and I want to remain a contender and I'm dealing with Portland, I would kind of maybe hold out and see if Portland can make other moves. Because if they can't, Dame's going to become available. Right. And then I enter the Dame Lillard, the Damian and Jaylen swap conversation. If I do consider Ant and number 3, I'm trying to trade I'm trying to bring in a third team to move number 3. What if you move, the Blazers are trying to turn number 3 into a legitimate star player. So what if I can get Ant and a star player? I don't know what it would be. I mean, I would want, if it were number 3 to Atlanta for DeJounte Murray. To me, if I'm Atlanta, I'm considering that because you got 2 point guards right now. Murray can play the 2. But if I'm Boston, I can get Ant and Murray. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm probably doing that. Or if I wouldn't do it for John Collins, I'd have to get John Collins and someone else. If I went to Toronto and did a package and got Siakam,
I'd trade the other.
That. I was just trying to turn the 3 into a legitimate veteran star to replace Brown, and I get Ant on top of it. I'm not doing it for Ant number 3 because I don't want to go backwards in terms of youth. That wouldn't make any sense. We agree on that, right?
Yeah, but if I'm Atlanta, I'm trading the other point guard.
Trae Young, right? And if you're Boston, you don't want him.
Yeah, I'll
trade. He doesn't play defense.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm not trading. I mean, wouldn't you? Why would I trade that? The size.
Yeah, I can't stand Trae Young. I would never. I would never.
I mean,
I can't believe it. I can't believe Atlanta traded with it. Made a trade that cost them Luka to take. Anyway.
Oh, that's
that's brutal.
Oh, just saying it out loud stinks.
I know. Come on. I mean, Trae Young. I was hoping the Bulls wouldn't pick him because he is what I thought he was going to be. He's just a undersized small guard who doesn't play defense and just jacks up shots at a ridiculous rate. He's talented, but he's not a winner yet. Anyway, so if I'm Boston, I would consider doing that if I could flip the number 3 pick. But I think I can do better than Ant and number 3. I'm trying to find a veteran star, and I think I take Jaylen Brown. I go, okay, we're going to shop you around, see who wants you. And see what we can get for you. And we want ballers. And maybe someone like Golden State steps in and says, we'll give you Wiggins and Looney or something like that. And then I think if you're Boston, I think you consider that.
Yeah, I do not think that you're getting Brown for the 3
and Ant
and Simons.
Yeah.
I don't even think you're getting it for 3 and Sharpe. You've got Brown, you know what he is. He's a 26-point game. He's an all NBA type player. He's definitely an all-star. And yes, Sharpe looked good. There's no guarantee. Brown's a guarantee.
Yeah.
So, no, why would you do that? And once again, Tatum's window is now. You're not looking to develop a guy in 3 years. If you get Sharpe and the number 3 for him, you got 2 guys that aren't ready to be alongside Tatum. Maybe in 3 years you win the jackpot and you've got, 3 amazing all-stars, and yay, but that's such a huge risk.
Yeah.
So no. I just think that everyone wants to think about this from a Portland standpoint in Portland, and on the reverse side, it's like, why would they be desperate to trade Brown? They were 1 game away from the NBA Finals with a coach that had never no business being the head coach of the Boston Celtics, and they got to Game 7. Unless it's so tumultuous, and it doesn't seem that way. It doesn't seem that way.
Yeah, he didn't come out.
But maybe things blow up.
No, yeah, but he didn't come out in the post game and talk about how he made it sound like I need to be better. I need to be better. I should have been better. I mean, he just didn't seem like a guy who was about to ask out. So I just kind of think the Jaylen Brown thing's a pipe dream. But I will say this: if he asks out, and I'm the Blazers, and number 3 is not going to get it done, I'm considering, man. I'm like, I might go to Dame and be like, look, bro, we can get Jaylen Brown for you, and you can go play with Tatum. You'll contend next year. You are on a guaranteed contender. You and Tatum contend. We get Brown, a young star, to build around with the number 3 pick, Ant and Sharpe. We're off and running. Go to Boston, win a title be there, and then 3 years come back. Just come back and finish your career.
Love to come back.
I do.
Something.
I would love for him to go somewhere else, win a title, then come back on a cheaper deal to a contender and be that veteran presence guy, and then they win and then Portland wins a title with him. That would be freaking amazing. I'm pulling for that. That's the story. Huh?
If you win a title in Boston, I mean, you're a god forever in an amazing sports town. But
they're not going to resign him. They're not going to resign him in 4 years, though. They're not going to resign him at 36.
I'm just saying, everything's gravy after that, and the Portland thing is still a big deal. You're the greatest player to ever play, and you're the all-time leading scorer in Portland, but you're a champion in Boston, and being a champion in Boston is just. Being a champion anywhere is amazing, but being a Boston Celtic champion, there's something special to that, as much as it makes me nauseous.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a thing. So he'll be good. His life will be – I don't think he turns that down either, because I think he's on the fence. I think he's on the fence about whether or not he thinks the Blazers can do it, and he doesn't want to be the bad guy per se and push his way out. But I think you offer that to him, and if the Celtics would take that but they shouldn't. The Celtics should not make that deal. They shouldn't trade a 26-year-old Jaylen Brown.
But if Jaylen wants out, and that's one of your options,
I guess.
I think you consider it, because
you
get a closer, right? You get a legit shooter, you get an adult who's hungry for a title.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's gold. Those things are very rare around the NBA right now, I think. There's a lot of people who want to win, but I don't know if they really, really want it. Everyone wants to win, but do you want it, or are you just willing to do it if it just happens to come about without very much work, and you can still act like a fool and run around making it rain and stuff? Anyway.
Yeah, look, Damian Lillard is as good as a star as you're going to get. The only reason why, and if he was 3 years younger, it's a no-brainer. I'm just saying, Jaylen Brown's 26, he's 7 years younger. So, but
we agree.
Fun to speculate, but my guess is the Celtics start out next year with Jaylen Brown on their roster.
I agree. So there's this report out here that just came out that the Nets are genuinely interested in Damian Lillard. I don't necessarily like things like this, because I think every team in the league is genuinely interested in Damian Lillard.
Right. Well, who wouldn't be?
Yeah. Of course you're genuinely interested in Damian Lillard. Who wouldn't? And the Blazers are genuinely interested in Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Jokic, Embiid, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Everyone's genuinely interested in every star player. But I just don't even see where a trade with the Nets even happens. And the Nets fans are running around there talking about, Cam Thomas, Ben Simmons, and 3 firsts. It's like, what? Why would, if I'm the Blazers? No, there's no way I can't do better than that. And there's no way Dame's going to the Nets if Bridges is coming to Portland. That doesn't make any sense. So now he's playing with Claxton and Cam. They're not winning. The Portland team's better. So unless they're giving up Bridges in that deal, or maybe Claxton and something else and a bunch of picks. But then he's playing with Bridges with no big. But maybe you send Nurk too. So I mean, I guess maybe there's something to talk about there. But I just don't see how anything materializes in terms of Dame going to the Nets.
Yeah, the weird story is that the two guys that are closest linked are the ones who want to play together. So like a trade doesn't work when you swap them. Like the whole point is that Bridges and Dame are buds and want to play together. Similar to the Grant thing. So yeah, I don't see that as a I don't see it as a and I don't think that's a place he wants to go. There's not the point of him being he's not the last piece in that championship puzzle, no matter how you create it in my mind. Like I don't see the Brooklyn Nets as a Damian Lillard away from being a title winner.
Yeah, so, even if they kept
unless
Claxton
Ben Simmons
for some
comes
reason.
back and is remarkable.
Yeah, Dame, Bridges, and Claxton is not contending.
Yeah, they're just not that.
It's not happening.
No, they're just not that good. Like you're not. What you just told me on. Yeah, so no, I mean no, and I don't think you don't trade Dame to a situation that he's not completely and 100% on board with.
Yeah, Dame has to pick a few spots where he would go, and then you have to go from there. Okay, so we shot that down. Damian Lillard has been traded to the Nets.
Whoops.
All right, so every once in a while I get these notices that the Blazers are going to conduct workouts for draft prospects. Last year, I was pretty geeked up about them because the Blazers had the 7th pick and there was a lot of mystery. And so Murray came, Dyson Daniels came, Shaedon Sharpe came. When they said he was 6'6", I frowned and said, no way, that guy's 6'6". This is BS. I want an inquiry done. He can't be more than 6'4". He admitted himself he's 6'4.5". But it was pretty interesting because there's a lot of mystery about are they gonna who they might want and could they trade the pick. This year, there's not any mystery about the fact they want to absolutely trade the pick. And if they keep the pick, there's no mystery as to who they're going to take. It's a 3-player draft supposedly, and they're number 3. So they've been bringing in a lot of guys though for the 23rd pick, which it's going to be like a group of like 10 or 15 guys they could pick from. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sit down and break down a bunch of tape of 10 or 15 guys and think who they take at 23 because I still think they might trade that pick as well. And then they brought in some second-round guys. I'm talking about a crapshoot there. So I've been going and writing about them. It's pretty much the same thing with each one. I'm not going to do a deep dive into, they've already brought in 20 guys, I think. But they did bring in 2 lottery picks, the Thompson twins, Asur and Amen, who've been playing in an Atlanta area pro, I use air quotes, pro league. They gave up their high school senior year and then the chance to play in college in order to play in the 6-team pro league in Atlanta, where they're both thriving. These are definitely legitimate 6'7" combo guard type guys who can do a lot of different things. But one, Amen is projected to go 4, and Asur is maybe projected to go 6. There's no way they're going to take one of them unless they were to trade back. Now, there is a floated rumor that the Blazers could trade number 3 to Orlando for Wendell Carter and 6 and 11, which if they could flip 6 and or 11 into another veteran player like OG Anunoby or whatever, then you walk away with OG and Carter and then trade Ant for someone else. Now you're kind of building a pretty good team there. So I guess that's not impossible. Or you end up with that 6th pick and you keep it and you end up drafting one of these twins. Anyway, I guess my question for you after all of this is you can tell I'm not very enthused by these things because I just don't think any of that's going to happen. But do you have any interest at all in the players in this draft beyond 3? Like, you're shaking your head. Like, in terms of the Blazers.
No, the whole point of this is do they get a deal? Are they trading the 3? And the 23 is, you're trying to win a lottery type thing. We know that players at that back end could end up being amazing. But the expectation of it isn't going to be that high until you see it happen. But it's not like a top 10 pick is going to drop to 23 and you're like, oh goodness, that changed everything, right? I mean, the 23rd there's a better chance that the 23rd overall pick is not with the team in 2 years than he is starting on the team in 2 years. So all I care about is we know who they're taking. If you keep the pick, you know they're getting whoever isn't picked second, and you know who's picked first. So it sounds like Scoot Henderson, right? Like it sounds like you're going to have another guard, which sounds awful, for what this team wants. So like it makes it less. I almost feel like if you end up drafting that third pick, Dame's gone because you're going to you're picking his replacement, in a way, and you already have his replacement in Simons. So I don't see how, if you're Damian Lillard and they end up drafting the third pick and they don't make a somehow another big, huge deal that doesn't include the 3 pick, which seems unlikely, you're now at a position where right now, if it plays out the way most people think, you're going to have 3 guys under 6'4" that are your you have Damian Lillard, then you have his replacement that you already have, and then you have his replacement to the replacement that you already have. Like, right. So what am I doing here, right? So that's the fascinating part to me is when you thought that it might be flipped and you'd get a small forward.
It still could be. I still think there's a chance. I still think there's a chance.
Yeah, there's a chance for that.
If I'm Charlotte, I'm taking the best player, regardless of position. I suck. Right, and if I'm redundant at point guard, well, 1'6'7", he can guard twos. He can play off the ball. He likes to score and shoot. He's a shooting point guard. It's not like he's early Magic Johnson. Those players don't exist anymore. Every point guard in the league that's worth a damn averages 25 or more. It seems like, except for Chris Paul. So, I'm taking the best guy. I'm not passing on Derrick Rose and taking Josh Jackson because I need a forward. Yep. That's what I'm saying. If I think that Scoot's the best player, I'm taking him, and I'm worried about positions later because I need to accumulate as much talent as possible. And if Scoot ends up being amazing, maybe I trade LaMelo, or maybe I trade Scoot down the line, just like I keep going back to what the Kings did. What the Kings did was so smart. They took the best player available, Tyrese Halliburton. It wasn't never going to work between him and Fox, and then you traded one for Sabonis. You don't get Sabonis if you don't draft Halliburton. So then if that happens, then number 3 pick, Blazers, they get a small forward, which they haven't had who's the best small forward they've had since Batum? Grant. He's playing power forward though. Your best small forward is your starting power forward. So I still think that's a possibility. But again, Dame's going to roll his eyes and be like, "What are we doing?" Right? Especially if you're not going to trade Sharpe, which is the stated goal is not to trade Sharpe. So if you're not going to trade Sharpe, then you trade an Ant for OG, and you got Miller in the draft, you're not contending. So if I'm Dame, I'm like, yeah, that's not enough. I need you need more players than that who are old enough to buy alcohol.
Yeah, I just think and don't play my position.
Right, exactly. It's not small guards.
That to me, like if you draft a point guard, a 19-year-old point guard, I don't get it. You have a 33-year-old point guard, a 23-year-old lead. You basically have a 33-year-old lead guard, a 23-year-old lead guard, and a 19-year-old lead guard. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's
and would definitely be gone. But
and
still.
If you're not, but I'm just saying, you've just done. You haven't gotten there, and if you draft them, that's what you have. So I think that's a sign that they've made a decision. They made a decision that our best bet towards a championship is to trade Dame, take Scoot Henderson. Because if not, you do trade back and do what you're saying. I mean, that's why I think you have to look at that is because if I could pick up a center and move back and graph 6 and 11, maybe that will, and now I could trade Nurk with ease, right? And I can do other stuff. But I think if you walk away with Scoot Henderson on your roster and you're opening training camp that way, Dame's going to be like, am I crazy? Am I the crazy one here? Like, how is this good? Like, is this, and did we not talk? Like, that would be everything they spoke about not doing with Damian Lillard. I don't want young people. We don't think 2 guards. We traded CJ because we didn't think 2 small guards could win. To me, that's a really, that's an aggressive move in the direction of looking
trading Dame.
at Damian Lillard. Yeah, it's moving on.
Agreed. All right, so you had an interesting question you raised before the show. What do you got?
Well, I just think we always talk about whether or not we should, the Blazers should trade Sharpe or should trade Simons. And my thought is if you're Sharpe or Simons, at this point, do you want to get traded? Like, are you like, no? And my thought is, if you're Sharpe, I would be cool he's so young and so new to the league. He might not be thinking that way. He just got drafted. He's 19 years old. He's, does he have a big picture thoughts about the league and where it's moving? But if I'm his agent and I'm his people, I'm like, hold on a minute. My guy's 19. He's got 3 years to 4 years until he's, right there in his prime, we hope. I'm okay. I don't know who's going to own this team in 3 years. I mean, what are your odds? Give me a percentage on that it's still in this weird kind of sort of owned by, Jody Allen in 3 years. 20%?
No, I think she's holding on to it for a long time. I think the last assets
as long as she can.
The last assets they're going to sell are probably going to be the Seahawks and the Blazers because they keep appreciating.
So you think it's another 10 years
easily
of this?
Easily.
Well, then I'm definitely out. Then I'm out.
Why?
Get me traded.
I think Jody's committed to
because
winning.
This weirdness about it and not having an owner that ever talks at all, that never moves forward and hasn't signed a free agent, that hasn't. I do not like this.
What? Hasn't signed a free agent? What are you talking about?
No, I'm just saying
the franchise hasn't signed one.
Everyone argues over so the franchise hasn't, and now I don't think Jody Allen is involved enough. I just don't. It just doesn't feel like tight like other ownerships that. I mean, Steve Ballmer. Like I do not. He like that guy. I know Mark Cuban. I know the new owners. In Phoenix feels that way where you can. I just don't like an absentee owner. Like,
okay, wait. She was at almost every game. She was at almost every game. She's there all the time.
Okay, where is she at in the process? Okay, but she doesn't talk ever. She doesn't give direction. What does she have to
talk about? But why should she give direction? She's not a basketball person.
Tell me that you're not selling. Tell me that you're not going to sell. Tell me you're not going to sell the Blazers for the next. Tell me what Aaron Fentress just told me.
She said the Blazers are not for sale. But I don't understand why if they sell it, they're not going to sell it to a bum. They're going to sell it to someone who probably knows what they're doing. And
I'm just saying, but that the weirdness of not understanding the direction of it. There's been a lot of turnover in the Blazers organization. There's no denying it. At every level of the organization, there's been turnover. And since Paul Allen died, it's been you've been there. It's been weird, man. Who's running the front office? Who's running broadcasting? Who's running the business side? People have left. People have folded over on the communication side. It's not. It doesn't feel
stable,
super stable and wonderful. I'm right. So if I'm his people, I'm like, hey, I'm cool if we get traded somewhere else. I'm just saying, like, I don't think it's like he's bought into like. I don't think either of these guys is bought into wanting to stay. And the reason why I bring it up is because it's something that you've said all along, which is there's no guarantees when you go get guys or draft guys that they're going to want to stay in Portland and they're not going to pull, if they get as good as Kevin Durant. But I'm just using an example. Guys leave. Damian Lillard is unique for so many reasons. Like Dame has been begging to stay in Portland and build around it. I don't know if you can assume that Sharpe wants that. And at this point, if you're Simons, wouldn't you be like, okay already, man, all I've done is done what you've asked. I didn't play for a few years. I got better. I worked on my game. Dame got hurt. You gave me the keys to the car for the first time. Yeah, we sucked, but I didn't. I did everything you asked. Now I came back. I tried to figure out how to play with Dame. My numbers were pretty darn good. If you still don't want me, get rid of me already. I mean, don't you think there has to be some of that? And he's such a level-headed, young man, and he doesn't say anything like that. But at some point, aren't you like, I'm pretty darn good. And at this point in time, I don't know where I can go in this organization.
Right. Okay. So
do you not feel that way?
No, I absolutely know what you're going through. Going with all of this. My only thing is, I see a lot of people saying things about Allen, and they won't spend this or they won't do that. It's like, I don't know where it comes from, because no one can name a time where they said, no, we're not going to spend money for that all-star and become a contender. It's like they've done things where they say, yeah, we're not going to pay Covington and Powell and be in the luxury tax when we know we're not going to win. So we're not going to light $15 million or whatever it was in tax money on fire to be mediocre. No, they're not going to go get Paul Millsap, 2 years ago and again pay the luxury tax. So I think that's just smart business. But I've never ever felt that, like, if they got Jaylen Brown and got OG, and all of a sudden, boom, they're in a tax, and they're paying $75 million in luxury tax, but, they're going to contend, that they would say no. I just don't believe that they would do that, or I've ever demonstrated that they would do that. Also, in the last year, they've gone out and they hired an assistant GM, then they went and hired two, so now they have three assistant GMs. They've upgraded their scouting department, and they're starting a G League team. Like, these are expenses that they don't have to do if Jody Allen was like, this is just some little trinket I have down in Portland and don't really care about it. So I think they've invested money in trying to make the organization better, which I don't think you do if you just don't care. I believe, until I see otherwise, that if the situation presents itself where they can contend for a title and go deep into the tax, I think they're going to be willing to do it, because, again, you're talking about a state that's worth, $20 billion? And the Blazers have been making money, so there should be a lot of money in the luxury tax reserve bank kitty account. I would say you might have. So I kind of feel like there's more stability there than meets the eye, because they don't have to sell it. They have to sell off all the assets, but there's no timetable. And why would you sell the entities that are worth $2 and $4 billion when in 10 years they're going to be worth maybe $4 and $7 billion? You wait if you don't have to sell them. That's one. The other, now, as for the players go, one of the arguments against the whole idea of just trade Dame and let's go with all these youth, we're going to be good in 4 years. One, you don't know if they're all going to work out. Scoot could come in and just be Tyreek Evans, right? We don't know. Two, you don't know if someone's going to get hurt. Look at Philadelphia and the issues they had with Embiid, waiting for him to come along. And then, of course, Fultz didn't work out. And now Ben Simmons was a mess. Nerlens Noel, they had a rookie of the year, Michael Carter-Williams. There's so many things that can go wrong with, quote-unquote, the process. But they did hit on Embiid, and they became good. But then you have the next question is, we don't know if any of these cats are going to want to resign in Portland. For all we know, Shaedon Sharpe has dreams of going to Chicago or LA or New York, which is sort of what along the lines of what you're talking about. Jody Allen or no Jody Allen, we don't know where his mind is. I don't think Ant falls into that category. I think Ant would be cool, based on my conversations with him and his parents when I did a feature on him a couple years ago, that he would be cool being the guy in Portland, being a star in Portland, growing in Portland. This is, he's a quiet, reserved kind of guy anyway. But that said, if I'm Anfernee Simons, I'm not a two guard. So if I come back to Portland to play with Dame, I'm either starting at two guard, and then I got to beat out Sharpe, who's trying to be the starting two guard, and is bigger than me and more athletic than me and better fits that position. I'm a lead guard. So why do I want to back up Dame and fight for minutes at the two? I want to go run my own team. So either I want Dame to get traded so I can be the guy here, or trade me somewhere where I can be the guy. Like that would be my mentality 100%. Like I'd already have, if I own property in Portland, I'd already have it on the market, because I also would believe that Dame doesn't necessarily want me back, because I don't fit, not because he doesn't like me, not because I'm not his little brother, not because he didn't raise me, not because he doesn't love me, but he should probably want the best for me and know that it doesn't work for him and it doesn't work for me. So, in all seriousness, if I'm Anfernee Simons, I feel like I played my final game in Portland already. And unless Damian's gone. So I agree with you on the whole idea that those two could easily want to be traded or want out at some point down the road. I just don't know if it's necessary franchise stability, although you raise good points. And for all we know, their agents are like, man, I don't know about Portland, man. I don't know where things are happening. Yep. Like if they trade Dame and start over, you guys are the guys, but I guarantee you Bill's going to get fired because you're not going to win, and they're going to shift gears on coach. The coach is going to change. And do we know that if 2 years from now that Cronin's going to still be there? Do we know? Who knows? Because everything else, they're making changes at every level. It's insane. The people that I got to know when I first started covering this team are gone at the different levels. that I get to know people as a beat writer. And I just got an email from a new hire who wants to get together and have coffee, who replaced someone who I just got to know pretty well last year. Like, it's the turnover is just crazy. It's just all over the place. So yeah, I see what you're saying in that regard, but I do think Jody will spend to win.
And I'm not saying they won't spend. I'm just saying I don't know where it lies. And that's a whole different podcast when we bring in Bert Cold into the fold and who's making the decisions and all that and how that works. So that's a summer podcast for sure to talk about ownership, but we agree on all those parts. There's no doubt that there's a lot of changes with the Trailblazers franchise from top to bottom. And there's two young guys that there's reasons for them to want to move on. And one thing I'll say about not knowing, I think that I was talking with someone, they asked me about RJ Barrett. Mm-hmm. Like, well, is he good? And I was like, yeah, he's good. He averaged 19.6. He averaged 20 another year. He's a starter. He plays 70-plus games. Yeah, he's good. He's like, yeah, but everyone kind of talks bad. I'm like, yeah, they talk bad because he was the third pick in a draft that, was a two-person draft with, wait a minute. Who was 1-2 in those drafts now that was so much, right? Zion and John. Like, one of them can't stay on the court and the other one can't stay on the court. Not for different reasons. Like, suddenly, RJ Barrett's pretty good, right? I'm just saying, like, you just don't know in this league, right?
Right. You're right. That's why I said
2 years ago,
and attitude. You never know. Go ahead.
And crazy. Like John Morant, like, is he going to miss half the season? And I don't mean to say crazy. I don't want to mean,
we know what you mean.
And if he's dealing, with mental health issues, but I'm just saying, like, it has nothing to do with his on the court stuff that he can't get on the court. And RJ Barrett has shown to be a great citizen, a great teammate. He has not been suspended, and he can't shoot threes so good. But I'm just saying the league changes so quickly. Portland has had such stability with Damian Lillard because he's been a given for a decade plus. It's just not – it's a weird thing. Everything has changed around Damian Lillard. Everything. One of the twins, Thompson twins, I read in a quote from you, I think, was what it mean to have Damian Lillard there. And he said, well, big deal because he's basically a member of the front office. And it was like, that's good and bad, right? Like, that's good and he's a player. Like, it's not that's not how it's supposed to be. Yeah, but it's so true, and the league perceives it that way.
I think it's overrated.
Well, I'm just saying, like, that's the perception. When a new player comes in the league, and
fans invent that perception. Fans want the star player to have some kind of power and say because it sounds sexy and interesting. It's like last year when Dyson Daniels did the workout. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Oh, I hear you. No, you're good. I hear you.
You got me? Okay. 3,
yeah,
2.
I got you. You got me?
I'll start. Yeah. 3, 2. I think that's overblown because fans and media sometimes want to paint out players to be, they're a great player, therefore they have some power. It's all about this flexing their power. I believe they listen to Dame and get Dame's input, but I don't think he's part of the front office. Like, he's not going to tell Cronin, get this guy and trade that. Like, Cronin has a job to do. Cronin's more qualified to do this job than Damian Lillard is.
Agreed, but they feed into it. Joe Cronin feeds into it.
But they say they talk to him. They also said they talk to Ant.
I'm just,
I would talk to my players because I would talk to my players more so to avoid making a mistake than to avoid or than to have them make some kind of genius assessment. Like, hey, Dame, we're really interested in this. What do you think? Like, nah, dude, that guy's an idiot. Like, I don't want anything to do with him. Oh, really? Yeah, man. Here's what I hear about him. Oh, okay. We didn't know that. Boom. Like, that kind of thing. I don't think they're like, dang, we're not sure who we should get. This guy or that guy. Who do you think? Like, I think that there's enough work and scouting going on that you're not going to rely on a player for that. And famously, Michael Jordan was like the worst player GM ever. Like, every suggestion he ever made to Jerry Krause turned out horrible. Krause didn't do them. And then had he done them, they would have been just disastrous. So you don't want to have players just because they're good at the game all of a sudden trying to act like they're a GM. So I just think that's a little overblown.
Well, and they haven't gotten there. And eventually, some players can get there. But yes, Michael Jordan did not get there.
And even
ever.
Well, yeah, even when he was a GM, right? But like last year when they worked out Dyson Daniels, Dyson Daniels, and Dame was there, and then they showed Dame talking to Daniels, and people were filming it, and then all of a sudden some media members who were there, and then some who weren't there, just fan media. We're like, oh, Dyson Daniels, it's clear that Damian's taking a lead in this decision. And talking to Dyson Daniels, I think Dyson Daniels is clearly the pick. Look, Dame's talking. I was just rolling my eyes like, what the hell's wrong with you people? Like, Dame works out at the facility. Dame's going to be there for the workouts to watch the guys. He don't want any of them. He wants them to trade this damn pick. He don't want any of them, let alone is he going to go to Cronin and say, oh, you should draft this dude. Because I watched him in a work. Like, the whole thing was just corny. And of course, they took Shaedon, not Dyson Daniels. But anyway, I just think that's.
And I like that. I like that everybody that talks about the Blazers that you don't like sounds like a whiny eighth grader.
Because they do whine
when you do the voice.
I know when I do the voice. Oh my god!
It's like
essentially, no one's happy with any. Like the only thing they could do this year, like I said, you get Jaylen Brown, Jokic. And then people cry, yeah, we got to hold it to 2, though. We got to hold it to 2.
Yeah.
Can Jokic play with a ball-dominant point guard? It would just be, everything would be just, there's no such thing as a perfect player. There's no such thing as a perfect team. If you can get a bunch of talented guys together, they both play.
There's been a hole at the 3 since Drexler retired. So, and
there's been a hole at the 2 since Roy fell apart because CJ was on a true 2. Anyway,
that's
okay. So we digress and went down a rabbit hole on that one. But.
Right, bottom line, Jaylen Brown's not going to come to the Blazers. Bottom line, if the Blazers end up drafting Scoot Henderson, that's a sign that Damian Lillard might not be a Blazer for long.
If Scoot's here,
I think those are the two big.
Right. If Scoot's here, Dame's gone. If Brown is here, it was for Dame.
Right. But I can't even concede that one's a real thing. So I won't.
I think it would be.
Because they were one game away from the NBA Finals.
Yeah, but only if
Udoka doesn't get fired.
But if Brown demands a trade.
But why would he blow it up? Why would
we don't know.
Why
he was grumbling. He was grumbling for a while. Why do players do anything in the NBA?
You're right.
The NBA
I never thought Kevin.
The best soap opera on TV, bro.
Yes. Kevin Durant's a son. I got nothing, right? Like I couldn't have predicted last year at this time. Oh yeah, Kevin Durant's going to be on the Suns. Like no, I would not have said that, right?
Also you're saying that they went to the West Finals. Well, Durant went to the West Finals,
Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah.
No, Durant with the Thunder.
Oh, right, yeah,
and was up 3-1 on the Warriors, and then left to go to the Warriors. That's just like that's just the league. No,
right.
LeBron was in the finals. LeBron was in the East Finals and left Cleveland, and he was in the NBA Finals after already winning 2 titles and left, Miami, went to Cleveland, went back to the Finals, won 1, and then went to the Finals again a couple more times and left Cleveland and go to LA to not make play. Like, guys just do things to do things in the NBA. So, who knows? I think if Brown asks out, Damian's in play. All right. Anything else? I don't have a fact or Fentress.
No. Good. I think we're good.
Are we good?
We filled it up.
All right.
Yeah, I think we covered everything.
Yeah, we did pretty well.
Right at the, right what we wanted to accomplish, and we didn't kill each other, which is always success.
So we have 3 weeks between now and the draft. I'm expecting that a few days before the draft. That's usually when you start hearing like the serious, like there's talks about this and talks about that. I don't think I gotta look this up. I'm bad with calendar stuff, but I don't think they can actually trade the pick until draft day. I'm not. Is that right? You're nodding your head, correct? But they can obviously.
I think they have to draft the player, basically.
Well, especially if they want to trade, like if they want to do something with the Bulls and be able to trade, like if they gave the Bulls their 23rd pick so they could free up next year's pick, then you want to trade the player in this draft and then you're able to trade 24,
I'm going to speak for everybody right now.
What?
I'm going to speak for everybody. Do the homework, then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Do the homework. Do your job.
No, this is right. This is what I'm saying right now is accurate though. Because they got to give the Bulls a pick. once they get the
I'm
Bulls
sure.
a pick, then they
Work
free
it
up.
out, write about.
Then they
work it
free
out,
up
write
being able
it,
to trade
then
multiple
talk about
picks. Stop. All right, thanks for listening. You said we got through without killing each other, and now you're killing me. All right, thanks for listening to the Blazer Focus podcast. I'm Aaron Fentress. He's Craig Birnbah. Please click the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating. We'd appreciate that. And we'll be back with more trade pontification and the shooting down of nonsense floating around in the NBA atmosphere at a time to be determined. Thanks.